Huh? It says it's live.
Kevin, stop.
Hey there, viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. It's another What's Up Wednesday. Trinity's hiding, doesn't want to be on the camera. Are you hiding? You gotta say hi. Welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Feedback. Gotta fix that. Go let your mother in. I think. Go let mommy in. Gaga, go let your mother in. I think she was rattling that door. Or some lunatic was. Let's see here. The children are here.
Yes, they are.
For a moment. And then they're getting ready to peel out of here. They're saying hi to you, Trinity. Say hi, wave to them.
Hello.
Show them your missing tooth. Yep, lost a tooth. Another one. So we do have a mail call. The children, however, are getting ready to leave. Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Can the boys stay here?
No, the boys can't stay here. Who's late? Am I late? I don't think I'm late.
Yeah, you're late.
No. No, we're early. We're 1 minute early for What's Up Wednesday. So, what are you looking at, buddy? How'd you cut your eye anyways?
Mama scratched
Oh, that's where
me.
your mother punched you in the face, huh? Next time you'll listen. So, all right, so you guys are leaving?
Yeah.
All right, say goodbye.
Bye, people.
Okay, see you later. Have fun, enjoy yourself. I'll see you at home. All right? See, bro. You don't want to do our secret handshake? Nothing? You gonna leave me hanging? All right. All right. See ya. Bye-bye. All right. Back to What's Up Wednesday. I got my cup of Joe. I got a few things I snagged off the Facebook that I wrote down as far as our Wednesday discussion. Here come the children again. Bye.
Bye.
Love you. See ya. No, oh, I can't kiss you on camera?
Can you kiss me on camera?
Yeah, do it.
See you later.
Hello, people. Goodbye, people.
Say bye to people.
Yeah. Hello and goodbye. All right, let's go. Come on.
First of all, I guess before we get started, can everybody see and hear what's going on? Just want to make sure the feed's good. I did plug us in. We're plugged in. Super fast internet today. I know it's on a little bit of a lag. Chicken lips. Those are fish lips, Sophie. Okay, everybody is. We're on board. I gotta make sure Sheba's running around out here. I gotta go shut the door. I'm sorry about the delayed start. I don't want you to run away. And for whatever reason, children can't shut doors. Come here. Come here. Come on. Say hi. Oh, there you go. Hang on. So Sheba has to stay with me tonight. Say hi, Sheba. You want to say hi to people? Oh, you're always kissing in the mouth. You lick your butt with that mouth. Right? Okay. Sit down. There we go. Let's see. I'm assuming everybody's in good shape. Otherwise, there wouldn't be 500 people watching. Nothing. We do have mail call. So last week, you guys knew about the earthquake cordless ratchet. Well, lo and behold, another one shows up in the mail with no stinking name, no letter, no nothing. So I don't know who it's from, and I don't know who to thank. So whoever sent it, I thank you for it. But yeah, another earthquake with 2 batteries. So the beauty of it is I've got one over here and one over there, and there's no more hoofing it no more. I have used the other one quite a bit so far, and my only gripe about it is the fact it doesn't have an LED light on it, which sounds minuscule, but you don't realize how, I don't want to say dependent you become, or I guess how much you enjoy having that little LED light on the end of it until you don't have one. So that would be what I would say if I had to give my pre-review review. But I won't review a tool until I've had it for like a year or so and see if it breaks. We did get, oh no, so this was in the package with the Harbor Freight. Mr. Bill H. I assume that's the guy who sent it. I'm hoping it is. Says he's from New York. So Bill, if you are the one who sent this, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So I did say that. That was the only thing that was in it, just a shipping thing. And then we've got another letter here. This came from Amazon, and it comes with a little thing so you can scan it. And it was saying thank you, but it says, hey, Erico, here you go. You didn't say what size. I hope this will do. Great channel. Don't change a thing. From Torque Man 2002. And Torque Man 2002 sent me my Lambo. So I have an official Lambo. Cop car Lambo. Now, if cops actually drove these, I may consider joining the force just so I can have my Lambo. So I will put that up in my collection. It's pretty sweet. Now, if people ask, yeah, I've got a Lambo. I'm just going to set that over there. We've got another one here. Who's this from? I don't remember if this one came with a letter. Boom. Nova Scotia license plate. Pretty sweet deal. This is from Jake C. See you collect license plates. Thought you might like to have one from Nova Scotia, Canada. If you could see your way to send me one of your stickers from my toolbox, well, that would make my day. Well, Jake, your sticker is in the mail already and on its way up north and a little bit to the east, I guess it would be, to Nova Scotia. Maybe I'm thinking of New Brunswick. I don't know. It's heading up north via the mail, and appreciate the license plate. I already now have an Australia one, Alaska, a bunch of them in the U.S. Of course, we got some Texas ones last week, but I do have some oddball ones like this, which are pretty cool. I would love to get me a Euro license plate. That would be pretty sweet. And not a big mail call this week, but we do have this one here from a guy named Mark B, and he writes, hey Eric, a little something for you and Mrs. O, made here in my hometown and thought you might like. Keep up the videos, hope you guys like the popcorn. Not sure what part of us they ship it. Not sure what part of us they ship it you may have in your area. So I don't know. And he did send a bag of boom chicken pop. Boom chicken pop. Caramel corn and cheddar popcorn mix. Never heard of it, never seen it, but it's from Angie's. So appreciate that. Has an odd waft, as you might expect, from caramel and cheddar popcorn mixed. It is all mixed together. It's like those tins that you get, Christmas time where you got, butter, cheddar, and caramel, and somebody pulls out the divider. This is what you get. That's probably what it is, leftover Christmas popcorn in those tins that they just pile in one bag. So what's going on out there in the internet land? I see there's 755 folks watching. They sell it at Costco, it says. So Rick, I know you're just joining us. You want to know how the 3/8 ratchet's holding up so far. I did state that my only gripe is it doesn't have an LED, and I will not form an opinion on the tool until I've used it for some time. The other thing I would say about it, I guess now that you mention it, is those ratchets, all the ones I've used, which are Milwaukee, the DeWalt or the Mac one that I have, and the Harbor Freight one, they're very torque limited. It doesn't sit there and stall out the electric motor until it goes up in smoke. Thanks, Divine. Appreciate that. What it does is it, hits a certain, foot-pounds, feels like maybe around 10 to 20, somewhere in that neighborhood, and then it, trips a breaker of some sort, and then there's nothing. But then at that point, you can use it like a manual ratchet. The DeWalt resets very quickly. The Milwaukee, prior to it breaking, that reset very quickly. The Harbor Freight, once it, deadheads and then trips, takes probably a solid 5 seconds. So if you use it, run a bolt in, snug it up, and then go to use it again, you got to wait a few seconds for it to work again. So that's the only thing I would say. It's not super annoying. It's just different than the other ones. Yes, Richard, it hits the ugga-dugga limit, which is like 0 ugga-duggas. Let's see. So I grabbed, earlier today, I put up a few posts on Facebook. I was just trying to kill my boredom today with like 7 or 8 oil changes and 1 tire change. I don't know if you guys follow us on Facebook, but this lady dropped off this wheel off her Honda Pilot, said her husband had a flat tire last night. And apparently he was bleeding pretty good by the time it was over, because the wheel came in and it's got blood all over it, and there's blood on the tire and blood all around the wheel nuts. So gives a new meaning to impact wrench. I think he impacted something and was bleeding, and I talked to her later, and I guess it was kind of what they call a rough night for this fella. So first a flat tire, brand new tire too, and then the worst part is he drove it flat too far, so the tire's junk, so I can't have a new tire till the morning. So is what it is, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, biohazard. I didn't wear gloves. It's not like I'm over there licking on the thing. So needless to say, I did put up a few posts on Facebook. Trinity was out in the shop helping me clean today. Did a little post on that. Post on that tire, and then I asked a question about what we should talk about on What's Up Wednesday. Lots of great ideas on there. You guys put a bunch of stuff on there. And so I'll go through some of that. I'm a little bit tired tonight, so just FYI, not in my right frame of mind. But hopefully we can get some conversation going here with these. So let's see. First one, I guess I'll just pick them randomly off here. Keith is up in here. What's up? New Level Auto. Everybody knows Keith. Customer supplied parts, yes or no? So I assume they're asking me to discuss, man, I feel like I got a hair on my nose. Maybe I got hair in my nose because I'm getting old and I got one of those hair mower things. Customer supplied parts, yes or no? It doesn't really matter a whole lot to me. Now, I know this is as debatable as to whether the earth is flat or round, but I'm small potatoes here, one-man band. If I have a customer that calls and say, hey, I bought these struts, will you put them on? I really don't care. I have very low overhead. Well, I don't want to say very low. I mean, I have lower overhead than most. I'm not paying 10 guys to stand around and got to make money on everything. I still make money on the job. I charge labor to install their parts. My only stipulation of that is if you bring me your parts, let's say for sake of argument, you brought me your struts. I tear your car apart and, you need, ends up taking it apart and find out that the upper mount is broke. Now what? What do I do? You're tying up my lift. I've got your struts. You don't have all the parts to finish your job. You have 2 options. Either I can get the parts and, just finish the job, which is the most feasible. You can leave the car on my lift at my current hourly labor rate until you supply me with the parts, which that could get very expensive after a day or 2. Or I can put your old stuff all back together and then you pay me for the time to take it apart and put it back on until you bring me the other parts. So I'm not saying that I use that approach to discourage customer from bringing their parts. However, if they bring them and they're wrong, whatever, it's not my problem is what it comes down to. It's not my problem. So I know a lot of people use do you bring your own hamburger to the restaurant? The whole spiel there. Like I say, bring them. I have some customers that specify they want this certain oil, this certain filter, these certain brand pads. You know what? Bring them. I don't care. But those are the potential problems you can run across bringing them. I don't go out and try to you're missing this bolt or something silly like that. I give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not a jerkwad. So yeah, if you want to bring your own parts, by all means bring them. But those are the situations we could run across. And the beauty of it, when the customer brings their own parts, I don't have to warranty anything. I warranty my workmanship. I do a good job installing it. I don't be a jerk. But if their strut goes bad in 6 months, call Amazon. I don't know. Call the tech support. I'll just put another one in for you. That's pretty much all I can say. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. I do know some shops are like, no way, you're a jerk. I'll see what you guys have to say. If you're even listening, you could be having your own conversation over here. Pie, is there any pie left? No, there ain't no pie. It's a week later. That pie didn't last a day. They want to know about the training class in Syracuse. Man, you put me on the spot, Keith. I would say this. It's under advertised. Not a lot of people go. I don't want to be a jerkwad. Training sucked. I'll leave it at that. John Gillespie's class was good. It's a class I've been to before. He's a local trainer here for CTI. But the networking class was a disaster. I don't really know how to, I'm not going to beat around the bush and be like, yeah, it was good. It was okay. No, it was terrible. But that's all I can say on that. I'm not going to sit there and elaborate on it and, run the guy in the ground or anything. But in my opinion, I don't think there was zero value in it. If you went in as a rookie and likely knew nothing, you left knowing nothing. Fortunately, Keith was in there and was able to, he was in the class and able to add some insight to it and make some corrections. And I think that's some of the problem with some of the training, particularly training like this, where the message was being delivered by a non-tech, a guy who's not in the field. He's not in, he might be in the industry, so to speak, a certain portion of it, but he's not out actually working on these cars and running in these problems, and doesn't have his own case studies or experience or running across things that we're going to see. Where like in John's class that he did on voltage drop essentials, this guy's a real mechanic. He's really held on to a meter before and actually done voltage drop testing and circuit testing and can apply Ohm's law, not just spew it out in theory. So it's a tough balance. Keith and I talk about this all the time, and some of these training events really discourage me. There are some fantastic ones though, but it just seems like they get farther and fewer in between. So that's kind of discouraging. But like, again, I'm not coming out to run down any particular trainer just because there's so many good ones too. It's a delicate balance, especially when you're paying, if a guy is paying for his shop to go and, he's expecting them to get educated and he has, hundreds of dollars tied up into this day and, perhaps travel expenses, I would be furious. And I'll leave it at that. Because Mom always said, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So we'll leave it at that. Well, thank you, Mr. Escort 1969 for the 20 euros, pounds, or funny money. Not sure what that is. Appreciate that. Oh yeah, Keith wants to know if him and I did a class, how many of you would hop on a plane to come do it? Because I was discussing with Keith today. Here's one thing that I gathered, and here's one thing that's actually on my list, is what I see lacking, and I've said this before, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, but what I've seen from being in one of the classes there, going to other shops and fixing stuff for them, talking with other mechanics who either call or ask for advice, is the lack of diagnostic approach, a repeatable approach to approaching a problem on a vehicle. What are they doing? And it just baffles me for something that seems, I'm not gonna say toot my own horn, toot Keith's horn, something that seems natural or just, common sense to us, as far as, how are we gonna fix this problem? What are we gonna do to, get to the answer? That is the biggest thing I think that guys lack. It is a video that I'm working on. I'm actually trying to do a PowerPoint, presentation on, what's my approach? And it's a similar approach that Keith uses, or that anybody who is successful in just, going in, nabbing down a problem and, fixing it, verify, and move on. It's a very repeatable process that we use. And like I said, it's one I guess I've always taken for granted from, what I end up seeing. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So be on the lookout for a video on that. If I can finish putting it together. I'm not good at putting together a pre-planned video. Usually my stuff is, off the cuff for the most part. Bring a car in, it's broke. We check it out, we fix it, we move on, make another video, fix other cars. So for me to actually methodically put something together, it's like, I would have thought it'd been easy, but it's a pain in the butt, just because I don't want to forget something or leave something out, or, there's always variables, but I try to alleviate those as much as I can and get it all summed up in one little video. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I guess that's what a live stream is. For some reason, 1,000 people are watching it. Which timing belt kit should I get for my wife's 09 Odyssey? Two options, OEM or Aisin. What's the part number on Aisin? Like, I can tell you. Wait right here. TKF 002 or something? Oh, yeah, TKH. So yeah, the TKH Tango Kilo Hotel 002. The Aisin kit. Come OEM. It's going to have OEM bearings in it. So if you want to buy a kit, do that. If not, just buy the parts OEM. Those are your best bets. Do not use Gates or any of the other aftermarket ones. Continental, they're all garbage. You're going to get Chinese water pump, Chinese bearings. It's going to fail. That's my opinion, of course. Yeah, Aisin. So a lot of folks on here will agree. Gates, why not? Because they're just Chinese junk. If you put a Gates kit on there, the water pump will be leaking in 20,000 miles, guaranteed. And I don't care if they're watching and they hear it. Their timing belt kits are garbage. Dayco, garbage. Gates, garbage. Do not use their timing belt kits. Now their belts may be just fine, but the rest of the stuff they throw in the kit is garbage. Yep, Aisin kit. Even the flat rate master agrees. Aisin or OEM or nothing. All right, so we'll scribble that one off. How do I deal with my mechanic said? So if somebody comes in and says, my mechanic says, and then you fill in the blanks. So let's use an example. My mechanic says, I need a new brake caliper. All right, we'll use that as an example. Somebody comes into me and says, my mechanic says I need a new brake caliper. At that point, I just, I don't treat them any different. I treat anybody else. I just ask them, would you like me to replace the brake caliper, or would you like me to diagnose it? And then, provide you with an estimate, so on and so forth. And then I leave it up to the customer. If they say no, my mechanic, he's great mechanic. He says that I need a new caliper. Just go ahead and put one on. No questions asked. I stop right there. I go and replace the part. I do a good job. I don't do it with a bad attitude. I replace the part. I park the vehicle back outside, call the customer, and they come pick it up. At that point, they're either very satisfied, or they call back and say, my freaking car still pulls to the left. I got a signed work order. This is what you wanted. You wanted the caliper put on. More often than not, when I see this, because it comes in and it's usually my mechanic says I need an oxygen sensor because my check engine light's on. I always offer them the same thing. Would you like me to diagnose it, or would you like me to change, an oxygen sensor? If so, which one? You tell me which one to change, I'll change it. No questions asked. I do not argue this point with anybody that comes in. I learned that a long time ago. If they come in and they tell you what part's bad and they're paying you to change it, just go change the part. You'll make more money doing that more often than not. But typically I'll just ask them, would you like me to diagnose it, to be 100% sure? And like I said, they typically choose that route. So that's in a nutshell how I handle that. Oh, thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. The forum says I need a sensor. One auto, Rob says his labor rate doubles. I don't. Yep. Oh. Let's see. Extended warranties. Do they pay full price? That was another question I had. That depends. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they pay half price. Sometimes they pay your full labor rate, but they have a cap. So let's say, they pay up to $100 an hour with a $450 cap. It depends on the company. I'll leave it at that. Lots of variables on there. It really depends. Like I said, we could go into that one in depth. Read the fine print. If you're looking at an aftermarket company, Guardian or whatever warranty company that's going to scam you when you're buying your used car, because the majority of them are scams, make sure you read the fine print as far as what they pay. They typically have a cap on the actual warranty also. So let's say you're picking up your Lambo and the salesman's like, hey, you want this aftermarket warranty? It covers you for a bazillion miles. It's only $2,500 and it covers everything from here to here. First of all, he's lying to you. He gets a kickback for selling the warranty. Can't blame him. The guy's got to eat. He's going to do what he can. He's going to sell you rust evader, all the fabric protector stuff, the whole spiel. But what I've seen with those warranty companies is when you reach the limit of what you paid for the warranty, guess what? You got no more warranty. So you paid $2,500 for the warranty, you blow the engine, it's a $3,000 engine. They're probably going to cover $2,500 worth of it. That's just the way it works. They're not in business to lose money, so they're not gonna. So that's that. That's my thought on extended warranties. I see so many people get scammed by them. It sickens me. So how are we doing? Is everybody still with us here? I'll give you a minute. Factory extended warranties, Aaron, are a totally different thing. I was speaking, I assume this was on aftermarket warranties, so I apologize for that. Factory extended warranties are totally different. That's an OEM warranty. That's like, let's say you bought, like with my Toyota, I bought that. It was Toyota certified, so it came with a Toyota extended warranty up to 100,000 miles, something like that. Nothing I would ever use, but that is a factory warranty. So, Daniel writes, have you ever diagnosed a steering coupling and found out the rack was bad too? If you're talking about like an intermediate shaft, Daniel, I've diagnosed lots of those. They're super common on GMs, particularly for making noise. I see them on Chryslers, Fords, where they actually seize up and make the steering knuckle over. I can't say I've diagnosed those and then immediately found out that the rack was also bad. So that would be a new one on me. Let's see. I guess I was checking to make sure everybody's still doing good. Are we on track? I only have a few more questions I haven't scribbled off yet. Do you want me to keep going down this? Over here eating some Angie's popcorn. Pico versus Handtech. That's not even a question. The Pico software will far exceed that of a Handtech. All right, everybody's there. They say keep going, or at least one guy has out of 1,200. There you go, Shibu. You want a piece of popcorn? Oh, you got grease. You got red grease in her ear. Part number for Big Nasty is an Astro 4980. 4980. Okay, so here's a good question. Oops, let me just grab this super chat here real quick from Herschel Herndon. Gonna do time and change on my 08 View with the 2.4 Ecotech. Haven't done one yet. Anything I should know? You should know they're a piece of cake and change the water pump while you're there and get all the goodies and buy factory parts. That includes the guides, the tensioner, the water pump. Of course, change the thermostat because that's going to be on the other end of the tube. But really, they're a piece of cake to do. Actuator, camshaft actuator, phaser. If you're going to tear it apart, in my opinion, that's how I quote them out. You do the whole job because you don't want it to come back and haunt you. And also check prior to doing that to see if there's any TSBs, particularly if you're changing the actuators on the ends of the cam. Sometimes, like on the 3.0s and 3.6s, they have updated actuators that require a different thrust washer that go behind them. So make sure you're checking service bulletins for, the newest updated parts procedures, torque specs, perhaps they have a different, guide that might require, different bolts that go with it or something. So make sure you check that first. Typically ordering that stuff from the dealer, they'll tell you like, hey, we've got this chain kit, comes with everything but the phasers. So that's usually full of everything you need, all the goodies. And use an OEM thermostat. I don't want to sound like an OEM Nazi over here, but I've had, you don't want to go through and screw around with the aftermarket thermostat because you have to pull the exhaust manifold off to do the thermostat on those. So Avid Avatar says, how do I get a hold of you by email? So if those are business related emails, in the about section on the YouTube, I believe my email is posted there for business related items. So I'll go on to my next one. Good question you guys can ask yourself. If I only had $100 to spend on a tool, what would it be? I'll get right with you, Monte Carlo SS. So if I only had $100 to spend on a tool, what would it be? In my opinion, I would spend that on training material. And in particular, when I think of that $100 price range, I would spend it on like ATG books or an ATG book through AES Wave. In my opinion, from the books that I've gathered to self-study from, those have been the most helpful. They're big, they're thick, spiral bound, paperback. They're ones they actually use in their training classes, which I hope to attend soon. They have a lot of value in them. So I would not buy a physical hard tool like a ratchet or a wrench set. I would buy training material because this little tool right here will make you more money than anything in that box. And that is just strictly my opinion. Monte Carlo SS, he writes, what did he write? I'm doing a time about on my wife's 07 Kia Sportage. I bought a Gates kit, or I bought a Gates. Is that okay or Dayco better? I also bought an Astrolite. How long do you get out of it? I only get a few hours out of it. The Astrolite, see, I have several of them, so I keep them plugged in, swap them out. I want to say on high, like 4 hours or so. But I will tell you this, if you are having a problem with it, got something on my lip, call Astro. They're a fantastic company to deal with. If there's a problem with it, they'll take care of it. That's just the bottom line. When you call, you actually talk to a human. If you have not done your timing belt kit yet, I mean, I don't want to sit here and throw Gates and Dayco under the bus. If you haven't done it yet and you're doing all the tensioners, idlers, everything, I wouldn't use either one of those kits. This is my opinion. I would use Asian so you get good, quality bearings, or I would just buy the parts right from Kia, Hyundai. That's my opinion on that. Like I say, I'm not out here to bash Gates, Dayco. I'm just stating my opinion and what I've seen, in the shop, and I've used the stuff, I've touched it. I see what's, what works and what doesn't. All right, Joe. He said his Astro lasted a couple months and broke. You need to call them. They stand behind their products. It's just they're a great company. My Astro 40 SL, my original one from almost 2 years ago, finally died. There's something loose inside of it. You got to tweak it, but that is everyday use, or 5 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week of using it, and it finally gave up the ghost. It's been dropped, banged, beat. It's gone for rides on cars, burned, dropped in liquid. It's not surprising. Typically, lights I get about 6 months out of. To have one last a full year is amazing. To have one make it, over a year and a half is unheard of. Mike Carlo, thank you for the super chat, but you don't feel obligated to do that. But I do appreciate it. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. And hopefully you haven't done the timing belt yet, and you can, go back and do the best job you can. Because if you're taking the time to do that job, use the best parts you can, especially when it comes to components like that. You're not talking, well, part X screwed up. No big deal. It takes me 10 minutes to change it. You're talking about timing belt. You drive down the road, the idler bearing screws up on that. You're riding the old shoe leather express and pulling the heads off it. Let's see. So yeah, if I had $100 spent on a tool, I would buy something to improve my thought process, approach, diagnostic abilities, which don't only apply to electrical diagnostics, which some people think, but they apply to how you troubleshoot anything. It's your approach. So I'll say that. Joe says, keep going with a long G. Here's one we don't want to talk about: how to handle the wrong call. When you make the mistake, you make the wrong call, what do you do? And fortunately for you, I have a perfect example, because I don't want to say it just happened, but it somewhat just happened. Customer comes in. You guys saw the video with knock sensor code. Verified it multiple times before giving it back to the customer. Also verified it when it was faulty. When the wires were shoved down by the spark plug wire, you clear the codes, P0332 would come back immediately within, less than a mile. Hit the code setting criteria, boop, pop right back on. We moved the wires, verified it on the scope, seen the signals, verified it, ran it through the test 2 or 3 times, P0332, pass. So you guys saw that. A couple days later, chasing her tail. A couple days later, a guy says his light came on. So I says, fine, I totally stand behind it. If I made the wrong call on it, I'm going to find out what's wrong with the car. So he shows up. I grab the Tech 2. I go out there, cold start it, and I ran the thing through a full drive cycle, everything but the evap because it was too cold that day. Put the scope back on it, ran it through the drive cycle, wanted to see, if this light's coming back on, what's the deal? So I ran the full drive cycle. Of course, the P0332 passed. It passed and ran. So at that point, what do I do? I ran the drive cycle. The code didn't generate. The P0332 passed. So I had cleared it again. I ran a drive cycle again. Later on in that day, it ran the entire drive cycle again. The P0332 passed. So then I tried a couple different, driving methods where I drove it, I guess, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like unnormal. All the motor mounts in the car were broke, brakes are shot, wheel bearings shot, ball joint shot. So, bald tires, so how much you want to drive the car, period. But, I drove it hitting, a series of bumps, hitting rumble strips, drove it aggressively, lightly, light load, medium load, heavy load. I could not generate the code. So at that point, called the customer and says, look, I can't reproduce your problem. The signals look good. I ran the drive cycle twice, verified and cleared the code, let it rerun the P0332 multiple times. I can't generate it. The best advice I can give you is to come down and drive the car for me while I monitor it, because obviously there's something different that you do that I don't to generate this code. Which I assumed was because the motor mounts are bad. Because if you step on the throttle, the engine wants to come right through the hood. So, perhaps, of course, that's stressing the wiring harness. It's banging the engine around on the mounts. What do I do? So that was my approach. He decided not to do that, took the car, left. Of course, I didn't charge him. But that's what I do. If I make the wrong call, I make it right. That's just the bottom line. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, I'm going to make it right. If it's something that I did wrong or, made the wrong diagnosis, for sure. Let's see. Daniel, he writes, oops. Ah, crap. You guys got some super chats coming up here pretty quick. Let's see. Bull Moose Kitchen. Eric, my 05 Honda 235K on it is giving up the ghost. If you had 3 to 4 to spend on a car, what year, make, and model would you look at? Another Honda. Probably the worst person to ask for this, Bull Moose. I am a Honda guy. So I like my Hondas, like my Toyotas. That's exactly what I would look for, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of guys that will say stuff different. They buy, GM, whatever they're partial to. Working in the shops, particularly in the Northeast, I see that they have the best longevity. They're easy to service, reliable. So yeah, that, in my opinion, if I had that spent on a car, that's what I would look for. I think you're right on track, providing that you had good service out of yours in the time that you owned it. Chris Connor, he wrote 12 Hyundai Santa Fe with a 3.5 V6 with intermittent 1 to 2 times a week. No start, but cranks. No other symptoms, no check engine light. Could it be the immobilizer? Always starts on second attempt. Advice, reader shows no codes. So intermittents are tough enough to deal with in and of themselves. A crank's okay, no start. We've talked about this in other streams here, where, if I would approach the car to see, what it is. I'm not familiar enough with the immobilizer system without looking in service info to know if that creates a, no crank condition, or if it just turns into, no start, kills the fuel type situation. I've never dealt with immobilizer on Hyundai. Just be 100% frank with you. Typically, if it's like most immobilizer systems, there's going to be a light of some sort to indicate to you that it is in security mode. So perhaps look in your orange manual and you'll find out which indicator on the dash corresponds with that. My advice would be, see, that's tricky because it always starts on the second attempt. Perhaps what I would want to know, is it definitely a no start, or is it an extended crank? And by that, I mean, when you go to start it, if you can hold it in the start position and let it keep cranking to see if it eventually does start, because that would be an indicator of, perhaps fuel drain back or something like that. But that's the direction I would go with that, to see if indeed it is a 100% no start or extended crank. So hopefully that helps give you a little insight. Mike, he writes, my wife's Cruise needs a new turbo. So nothing new there. Rock Auto has a Cardone for 300 or an AC Delco reman. And a standard available. If this was your job, what would I pick? I would not use aftermarket. When I've done those, I do not use aftermarket. I always buy, I don't want to say usually buy, I always buy OEM. I know Dorman makes them, Cardone makes them. I have no experience with those. Before I bought aftermarket, which I know is considerably cheaper, I would definitely do some research on them to see what people have been finding. They scare me. Last thing I want to do is put on a Cardone or a standard or any type of reman and have it just eat the turbo. And now my garage owner's liability insurance is buying an engine. So I try to avoid that situation, but that is a great question. The Divine Chaos. He writes, 91 Escort, whirling on startup when cold, goes away when at temp. I've got AC and power steering, can't figure it out. All bearings seem okay. Timing belt was replaced. Anything I should look at closer? So on some of these older cars that have adjustable timing belt tensioners, they can sound like you have a supercharger on the car, particularly when they're cold, if the timing belt is over tightened. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Particularly if this problem, of course, I don't know when your problem started, Divine, if it was immediately after, a timing belt replacement. If indeed it was, that's likely to be your problem. I remember on the old Chrysler 22s and 25s, on the K cars back in the day, you had the little weight, you used to have to hang on the tensioner. And it was always my habit to just give it a little bit more, push it just a little bit. And you start them up and they things sounded like it had a blower strap to the top of it. Whirring noises can come from that. They can come from any type of pump, whether it be transmission, power steering, anything that has fluid moving through it. You can get whirring noises. I guess I would try to isolate the noise first. If it was in the shop, the noise was there. You start up, noise is there. First thing I would do, if it sounded like it was on the drive side of the engine, I would take the belts off it and just start it up to see if the noise is there. And then isolate it from there. Eliminate the variables. Doesn't cost you anything. Pop the belts off and, away you go. Noise is still there. Sounds like it's under the timing cover. Pull the timing covers and start it up. And, is that a bearing or is it just the belt? Just, sounds like it's got a blower on it. So that would be my advice. Motor City, you don't learn everything when you watch me. Come on now. So Motor City Mechanic, you put great advice. Isn't always free. I learn something every time. Many thanks. Appreciate that. If you guys don't watch Motor City Mechanic on YouTube, be sure to check out his channel. It's about as professional as you can get when it comes to making videos and his approach on fixing cars. So jealous of his video techniques, green screen action. Oh, there's some kids playing outside. So that's how I handled the wrong call. Let's see. And here is a question that I myself have, and I'll throw this out to you folks, which I don't know. I think we have a mixed bag of nuts, so to speak, as our audience. So perhaps you guys can add some insight into this. And I thought of this today because I was doing a lot of, maintenance or a lot of oil changes today. Should you know what is due for maintenance on your own particular vehicle, or do you expect your mechanic or wherever you go for service to advise you of it? Do you just drive around blindly saying, well, I'm taking it into the shop because the sticker says it's due, I hope they do everything it needs? Or do you, know your service history, look at your book and say, all right, well, I'm at 60,000. It says I need, transmission service, differentials, transfer case, spark plugs, cabin air filter, whatever the case may be. I would like to know what your guys' approach is. Do you depend on your mechanic, or are you dependent on yourself to relay the information to your mechanic what is due? Brandon, he says, it's my job. It's your job, Brandon. You're the mechanic. So I'm getting some look at my books. I check the service manual and rely on my mechanic. If you drive it, you should know about it. My mechanic, which is me, Brandon F., he don't even know. Owner's manual. Myself. Yeah, if you're watching this and you know yourself, a little bit of both. That's a good answer, Curtis. Some people shouldn't be driving. Here. Most people don't look at the book, unfortunately. See, solid diagnostics. Let's see, man. Oh, this is a quite a bad question to ask when there's 1,300 people watching. They're going by all zippy zap. The mechanic should know and advise what is due by ages, but customers need to tell you what has been done in the car's history if not a regular customer. That I agree with. That's why part of it why I asked the question, because I think a lot of this depends on what shop you go to. Are you a shop hopper? Do you go to, this Jiffy Lube, that Jiffy Lube, this mechanic, this guy does my brakes, this guy does my tires. So do you keep track of your service history? Oh, thanks, Daniel. He says he agrees with Motor City. I watch you take an exhaust manifold out of a Ford. Daily routine, man. Well, the heck that was. What is it, Chiba? Sound like somebody's in my office. I'll be right back. Nope. Just a ghost. Ooh. Make sure when some wacko YouTuber. Send in SWAT. We don't need SWAT. We don't call the cops. So here's, I guess, get back on that question. I got sidetracked there. So there seems to be a mixed array. In my opinion, I believe customers should be informed. However, I have some customers that are elderly, as someday, Lord willing, we'll all be there. Old fuddy-duddies that, they buy the car and, they're lucky if they can get the heater set right. Let's see, 10 belts. Excuse me just a minute. Divine Chaos says, thanks. Belt side. Timing belt seems likely. They did have two types, round and square tooth. I'll look at it closer. Good thinking. Definitely start there, especially if it's on the belt side. Sorry if I get sidetracked. try to answer, these guys throw up super chats, which are appreciated, definitely not needed, but appreciated. So there are, like I say, there are some customers that I, that I inform, and regardless if I know that they have a scheduled maintenance, that they utilize it, that they go by it, I try to give, reminders when I can, or if I see something. So you bring a car for service, of course I do, whatever they ask. If it's, just lube oil filter, tire pressures, check fluids, stuff like that. If I realize or recognize that, hey, I know your, transfer case service isn't due, or your transmission service isn't due for another, $30K. You've been towing a lot this summer. That fluid's looking pretty dark. Maybe you should consider replacing it, beforehand. So I'll, suggest stuff to them. Obviously, I don't make them. I know a lot of shops that are in the business to upsell. I could care less if you maintain your vehicle properly or not. I got my ride home, so I'm not going to shove it down somebody's throat and say, well, you should do this. You got to do a brake fluid flush. I don't care. You want to do it? Do it. If not, moving on with my day. Let's see. So that's what I think. If you are depending on your shop, I guess I would encourage you to, educate yourself about your car and the maintenance items that are due on it on your own, just so you know. I mean, it's good to know. Most of it's in your manual, or you can ask, your shop. A lot of times I provide my customers with maintenance schedules so they can stay on top of it. I'll go on and I'll print them out. Here's your, your severe duty maintenance schedule every 5,000 or whatever the case may be. And a lot of them are grateful, like, oh, a cabin air filter, what's that? I've never changed that. Particularly if they're a new customer, I'll give it to them. Be like, oh, I see you're coming up on 120,000. Have you considered, any of these items that may be due? Or do you know where you're at with, scheduled maintenance? Have you ever done a transmission service? Have you ever done, brake fluid flush, or, repack your muffler bearings? You know what I'm saying? So I try to inform my customers as what's going on, so they don't, if they choose to go to another shop, at least that way they're, not getting scammed, or they can look at it and say, gosh, I've never done any of this stuff. Maybe I should. Let's see. Hollis E writes, I've been a mechanic for 30 years now. I do it full time and find myself coming home from work and watching your videos. I'm in Erie, PA, deal with the same rust and battles of the bolts. Fist bump Hollis, 30-year veteran of the industry, and he's still at it. That's pretty awesome. And then he comes home to watch mechanic repair videos. That's a diehard. But I'm the same way. Cabin air filter is a ripoff. Well, I suppose if your shop's telling you need one every time you come in for an oil filter, oil change, it probably is. There, Sheba's liking the popcorn over here. I had a cabin air filter kind of surprise me the other day. It was actually one we did on a video. I did a Toyota, I don't know, Camry, Corolla, Toyota car. It was I don't know, about a year ago. Came in, remember, with a complaint of, no airflow. We pulled it out and the thing was like packed right full. We had to shop back it all out. That guy came in for service like a week ago, and he's like, well, I think my, cabin air filter might be due. He's like, the airflow is not really that great. And I'm thinking, a year on a cabin air filter, yeah, they're dirty, but usually they're not, extreme. So I, did the service, told him I'd check his cabin air filter for him. So I did. I pulled it out, and sure as heck, dude, the thing was like filthy. Not like it was before, not a pile of debris, but it was just like caked, and I couldn't believe it. So I definitely, I think a lot of it depends on the airflow, how the car takes fresh air from the cowl, how much the customer uses, recirc, a lot of variables. So, but I was kind of shocked. Hey, Eric, went to do transmission oil and filter change on my 13 Escape. There's no pan to drop. How do I get to the filter? So a lot of those without a transmission pan, trying to get up to your name, MJA, are essentially what we would consider in the industry as a spill and fill. Dump it, fill it. Prior to pulling the plug on your transmission, though, make sure you know how to fill it. Some require special tools to fill them. Maybe as simple as a rose duster, we call them. a suction gun to fill it. Some of the Fords that even had a pan, had an adapter you had to screw in the bottom of the pan because they had a standpipe going up in it that you had to, essentially force the fluid in from the bottom. Some are just a pain in the neck to fill. So don't pull your drain plug until you know how to fill it. Also, until you know what fluid goes in it, particularly on CVTs. CVTs, I just buy factory fluid. Don't even mess with the aftermarket. So now that we talked about should you know whether or not what maintenance items are due on your car, I think it's kind of a mixed bag. I would say this also, if you're dependent on your mechanic to tell you what is due on your car, strictly for maintenance items, make sure you relay that information to them. Tell them, like, come in, be like, oh, hey, I don't know what's due. Can you tell me? You don't have to use that voice, but, approach them with the, honesty. Say, hey, I don't know crap about cars. I know how to fill up the gas and I know how to start it. Let them know that, because, he can look for you, discuss the items with you, take care of you, hopefully. But because I do have some customers like that. They come in, here's my keys, do what it needs. That's all they want to know. They come back, you hand them the bill, they pick up their car, they're happy. They don't want to come back at 60,000 with a transmission nuked and you say, well, you should have changed your transmission fluid or whatever, and so just think about it. Just, well, what's up, Rocco? Make sure you, just be open and honest with your mechanic, let them know, but be as informed as you can be. Yes, you can use that voice if you want, but if you're a dude and you go talk to another dude like that, I'm not really sure. Am I making any headway on the ice cream machine? Great question, Mark. Answer, no. I discussed it with her again. Actually had 3 YouTubers stop in here. Was it yesterday? Whenever Hannah was here. Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. Yesterday, they stopped in. A couple fine folks from actually up the road. Guy had a Ford F-150, 2008, maybe. 8 or 9 or 10. Somewhere in that area. Texas truck, too. Super clean. Big honky tires on it. He went to another local shop down here, had tires put on it, and ever since then his tire pressure light was on. So he stopped in. We got all SMA on it. Oddly enough, the shop that he went to had put a Schrader TPMS sensor in it to replace the one that they had either broke or was broken, but then they never programmed it. So I don't know. So I wrote the code to the TPMS sensor, programmed the truck, light went out, everybody's happy. And while he was here, he didn't know the digits to get into his truck because he bought it used, so he didn't have the code for the driver's door. So I plugged into it, went in the security module, got him his codes. Now he has his code, so he's happy about that. Gave him a couple t-shirts, a couple stickers, said sayonara. So they were happy. So that was my local YouTuber visitors for the week. See, I'm down to like 2 things on my list, and we're out of here. Do you guys want me to finish off the last 2? I feel like I'm just running my mouth. 1,300 people watching, wondering what in the thunder I'm talking about. I'm not so sure about the boom chicka pop. I think that's how you say it. Boom chicka pop. I never envisioned cheddar and caramel mixed in the same bag. Individually, I like them both. Together, I don't know. I've yet to form an opinion. I'm like, oh, that was caramel. That was great. What's another caramel? But then you get a caramel and a cheddar together, and you're like, what was that? What did I just eat? Yeah, boom chicka what? Eric, thought at one time you did a video and used the Mini Ductor 2. Do you still have it? I never see you use it. Sits right here in the box. Yes, I still have it. Yes, I still have the Mini Ductor coil kit. A fine bit of kit, as they say across the pond. You never see me use it because if I can use the torch, I will. I use it. I just used it the other day, taking out a gas tank. Gas tank straps wouldn't loosen. Got the coil up in the frame on the little J nut or encased nut. Turned it red hot, took it right out. Because using the cutting torch near the gas tank, big no-no. At least that's what they tell me. And this one had a leaky sending unit, so. And I don't recommend using that tool to take out any bolts on gas tanks or near anything flammable. That's my disclaimer. But that's what I use it for. So, on to the next one. This person wrote something about OBD2 code readers. Should people have one so they don't get screwed by the mechanic? So there's some videos out there floating around on the World Wide Web about this new OBD2 code reader. Bluetooth, goes with your phone. I can't remember what it's called. But they are promoting it as a tool for the people, everyone, to use because, as they claim in their video, it will tell you exactly what is wrong with your car so you don't get ripped off by the mechanic. I call BS on their whole thing because if this $40 device would tell you what's wrong with your car, I would buy it today. There is no crystal ball. I don't have one. Keith doesn't have one. Nobody in the industry has one. We don't have a magic wand that we can wave around and, you know, expecto patronum, and the car will tell you what's wrong with it. It's nothing more than an OBD2 generic code reader. But unfortunately, they're promoting it as this magic device where you plug it in and it says, you need a jiggy witcher, whatever that is. And then what they're doing is they're taking the cars to the shop, and of course, you know, it's like this undercover sting, and they go in and they already know that they need a, you know, a jiggy witcher, but the mechanic tells them they need a, you know, combobulator. And then they're like, see, you can't rip me off. I got this magic thing I plug into my car. It's a load of crap. Don't buy into anything that claims that it's going to tell you what's wrong with your car. Yes, it'll give you a code. Yes, it'll give you guidance. It'll tell you what system is, you know, having a problem. You know, you can look at it like, you know, if you're in a stadium full of people, it's going to tell you what section the problem's in, but it's not going to tell you what seat they're in. If you think about it like that, probably a bad example. But yeah, don't fall subject to those scams. Particularly, now I would say if you have some bit of education on, you know, OBD2 data, yeah, like if your check engine light comes on, you read it, like, oh, okay, fuel system too lean, you know, bank 1, bank 2. You know, gosh, I don't have the means to deal with this. And you go to a shop and he's like, well, you know, you need, you know, a new alternator, you know, whatever. You'd be like, oh, you know, what did that have to do with my lean codes? You know, it's going to give you some, I don't want to say bargaining room, but you'll at least be able to know, you know, what you're going to go in for and what they're going to be checking out, which system they're going to be looking at. So just my thoughts on that, probably not very well elaborated or spoke about here. King James, he writes, love your videos. You've helped me diagnose a lot of cars quicker than I used to be able to. Go buy some ice cream and keep up the good work, buddy. I'm glad I don't love in the Rust Belt myself. Well, if you lived in the Rust Belt, you'd love it. Trust me. Not really. But appreciate that, James. Thank you for that. And I would definitely buy some ice cream with it because obviously I'm not getting an ice cream machine. Oh, and that's what I was going to tell you. Man, these super chats are popping up like, wow, man. I'll get right with you, JB. So the 3 YouTubers that stopped in, they offered to go get the ice cream machine, and they were all for it. But I told them I ain't ready to lose Mrs. O yet, so I'm not going to go get an ice cream machine. And I told her today their malicious plan to go get it and just drop it off, and she wasn't down for it. She thinks I'll get fat. I'm like, whatever. JB, what's your opinion on digital torque wrenches or any digital precision tools? I love mine, JB. I have 3 digital torque wrenches, 2 of which have the built-in torque angle gauge, and it is highly accurate. I've actually compared it against my mechanical torque angle gauge, you know, old school, big dial, the whole spiel. I believe that the load cell in there, as long as it doesn't skew or go wonky on it, is likely more accurate than a mechanical type torque wrench. And when you take your mechanical torque wrench and you're, putting it on a comparator to see if it's right, all you're doing is pulling against an electrical load cell anyways, I believe. I'm not an electrical engineer, but yeah, I've had zero issues with mine. Absolutely love them. So that's just my opinion on them. Yeah, the wife is greater than the ice cream. I'm still going to indulge in my ice cream in the summertime. That's what makes me broke. Weld the treadmill to the ice cream and Bob's your uncle. Now you're thinking about. All my torque wrenches are all snap-on. Let's see. Yeah, an ice cream machine is like a boat. It's better to use somebody else's than your own. Maintenance. That's right. I go down to the ice cream store. The girl there makes me my ice cream. I hand her the $1.85. I'm a happy man. She's got to clean it at the end of the night. So a lot of truth in that. How many stoplights are in a Voca? One. We have one blinky light. And the snap-on torque wrenches, they do not calibrate on the truck. You can test them on the truck. He does have a digital load cell on the truck. If you suspect your torque wrench is skewed, you can bring it out there and check it yourself. Oh yeah, get an ice cream truck. Let's see, here we go. And the last thing that was put up on the Facebook last I looked, hour or so ago. Do I have any favorite aftermarket parts? I do, and it would take me a long time to write the list down. I use a lot of Felpro gaskets. I've had good success with those. I've used a lot of Moog products. Now that a lot of them were, U.S. built or built in Korea, and they were pretty good there, but I see a lot of their stuff is Chinese now, so time will tell on that, or at least a lot of the stuff I've been getting has been. Particularly the wheel bearings seem to be all Chinese now, which, just because it's made in China doesn't make it bad. So don't get into that whole debate. But typically companies will do that to save a bunch of money. So keep that in mind. Timken, SKF, AC Delco, Bosch, Delphi, Motorcraft. Used to use, if somebody wanted a less expensive steering component, I would use TRW. I don't have any vendors that sell them anymore, but they always treated me pretty good, particularly in a more economical line. So yeah, those are some of the brands, but it's a big monopoly out there. You really have to know where the actual manufacturing of the product is, because a lot of the stuff, even with different brand names, comes off the same old assembly line. So keep that in mind. Yeah, Robinson's saying Moog became junk. I'm thinking I'm starting to see that, but I don't want to form an opinion until I see more of it. You got to wait for them to get the stuff off the shelf and inventory changes over, but I'm pretty certain we're going to see it all come through made in China. What 12 volt to 5 volt DC converter do I recommend? I've got a little one out there I put together in a project box. It can handle up to 2 amps. It's an adjustable one from 36 volts to, or whatever your supply voltage is, up to 36 volts down to 0 volts, adjustable into 1/10 of a volt increments, which I usually have it set at 5 or 8. And like I said, I can handle up to a couple amps. I just put it in a little project box, got the adjuster screw out where I can see it, put a, fuse, protected it with a 2 amp fuse. You can buy them like wicked cheap. I don't know if that's what you're talking about or not, but that's what I use. Popcorn so-so, Brian. We already talked about it. Anchor motor mounts are pure junk. Yeah, if you can actually get them in there and make them fit, then you find out they're junk. Let's see. Yeah, I'm choking it down, washing it down with my cold coffee. Coffee got cold quick today. Oh man, today's weather was crazy. Woke up, man. I'm like, whoo, t-shirt. I'm sporting the Hayward's Automotive. I think he's up here in the chat, so I'm giving him a shout out. And see, he sent me one of these t-shirts first, had no freaking pocket on it. And then he's watching a video, I'm working, boom, went to stick something in my pocket, no pocket. So he made me a new t-shirt with a pocket. Sent me a couple, 2, 3 of them. I forget what I was just talking about. I get reading over here and my thought quits. Keith says, what laptop did I use on today's video? That is a Dell Latitude 3324. It's old. I'm not 100% sure the model number, to be honest with you. It's an older Dell, Windows 7, extremely basic. Oh yeah, there's Hayward's. I'm up here representing his shirt. You owe me one, Bob. Oh yeah, Bob makes a good point. The Power Probe hook does have a regulated voltage output that you can set on the hook, put it in latch mode, and then at the tip you have your regulated voltage. I forgot about that. I actually have a Power Probe hook. Forgot it even did that. Please explain rear brake shoes quickly. Should be pretty basic, but I'm second guessing myself. Primary shoe, short shoe, always towards the front. Pyro, I've never seen it any other way. Perhaps other folks can chime in, but you put the big shoe in the back. That's the best I can tell you. If that's what you're contemplating, whether the big shoe goes in the back or in the front, the big shoe always goes in the back. Because that is the one that gets more friction when the brakes are applied. You know how the whole braking system works. Typically, of course, I don't know my lingo on rear brakes. If it's not that primary, secondary shoe style, both shoes are usually the same length, same amount of friction material. But yes, if you have an option, short shoe, big shoes in the back. The only time I've seen that the opposite is when, you know, a customer does their own brake job and 2 big shoes are on one side and 2 little shoes are on the other side. Oh yeah, the weather. That's what I was talking about. Woke up, it was nice and warm because that's why I wore my Hayward's Auto shirt. And I'm out here, doors open, 9:30 in the morning. It's 65 degrees in the shop. And then in like an hour, it's 52. And then a little bit later, it's like 44. I'm like, well, that didn't last long. It was beautiful. And then it started to rain, and then it got wicked cold. And tonight we're supposed to get 3 inches of snow and ice. So, yep. Where do I get the shirts? The Hayward's Auto shirt? Well, he sent it to me. I don't sell these or anything. Daniel Murphy says, Toyota TPMS sensor for $80 or Alltel for $25. Any negatives on the Alltel? Save the money, Dan. I thought, was it Dan? Did I just mess up his name? Save the money, Dane. D-A-N-I-E. Murphy, Mr. Murphy. Or the Alltel will work just fine. I've used a lot of aftermarket TPMS sensors. The only thing is with the Alltel one, it has to be programmed. So if you're buying it yourself, it has to be programmed. They have to write the data either from your old sensor to the new one or program a new unique ID and then program it to your truck. So make sure if you're doing that. Do I always have to replace your rotors when replacing brake pads? No, you don't always have to. I guess that's the short answer in a nutshell, but no, you don't have to. As long as they're within service spec, you know, go for it. They're not warped, no thickness variation, no lateral run out. I mean, yeah, you can pad slap it. I imagine down south, I would assume that would be common practice. You know, here, when your pads are worn out, the rotors are just rusty turds. So we always change them. Unless there's that rare instance where, you know, the rotor's not. There's no pulsation. There's no shimmying. Rotors, you know, don't have any, you know, big grooves wore in them. You measure them. They're within their service limit. I have no problem slapping pads on it. But that's far and few between. I do not have a brake lathe anymore. Big Mac. $965. I used to have a couple John Bean brake lathes actually back when I first opened. I still had them, and I sold both of them on eBay. Service specs decreased, even if they were within spec and turnable. I mean, you only had a few thousand you could take off them. Plus, the price of rotors are so inexpensive. You know, if you were getting, let's say, you know, $20 a turn a rotor, or $18, whatever it was, turn a rotor, you could get a brand new one for a few dollars more with a 3-year warranty. So it just became a tough sale. I had a John Bean on-car brake lathe, and I also sold that. Yeah, even Robinson says they barely use this anymore. I mean, I used to use mine. I cut a flywheel here and there, but you know, they turn flywheels for, you know, 35 or 40 bucks. So send it down, get the flywheel turned, and let's see, Pooch Maxi, not sure. How do you handle 8 tires with a Y? So he's from over across the pond. Wheels, summer, winter with TPMS. Can you register more than 4? And see, how about spare tire TPMS? So a lot of vehicles do have spare tire TPMS. You see a lot on Toyotas, Chryslers, or quite a few manufacturers actually. I do not know of one that you can register up to 8 TPMS, 8 or 10, I suppose, or 8 or 9, I guess it would be, because you wouldn't change out your spare registration numbers. I've only ever seen them with, you know, 4 or 5 registration numbers. So what I would do at that point, if a customer bought an aftermarket set of wheels and they wanted, you know, aftermarket, tell me, you know, let's say they bought a set of wheels, they bought a set of tires, wanted me to put sensors in it. What I do is I use clonable sensors. So I would use either my Schraders, you know, Altels, Wells, any of the clonable ones. I would gather all of the registration IDs off of their current set of tires, and I would program all of those same exact IDs in their new winter wheels. That way, in the wintertime, when they did the swap out, you didn't have to piss around with the vehicle programming, you know, the 4 unique IDs, and then again in the summertime and again in the winter. It gets monotonous. So that's how I approach it. I do have customers that buy their rims and tires, their winter set, like off Tire Rack, and every year they come in, you know, I swap them on, then I got to, you know, relearn the vehicle. So it can be done a couple different ways. I'm still eating this popcorn and I'm still confused. Is it caramel? Is it cheddar? Phenolic caliper pistons, what's the deal? I don't know what's the deal. I call them plastic. They're phenolic plastic. I don't know what the deal. I don't know what the advantage to them. I'm not a material scientist as to why they use those versus stainless steel pistons. I don't know. They break easy, so be careful. Yes, W.W. Renchi, I will get to the bottom of the bag. Boom, chicka, what? Before I make a decision. Yeah, they don't rust. They always seem to seize up easier, though, oddly enough. Yeah, less heat transfer and cheaper to make. Yeah, perhaps. Blazer probably knows. He's always on top of stuff pretty good. Do I have a favorite tire brand? You know, oddly enough, I don't. I've always personally had really good success running Goodyears, but I run everything. I don't run, usually private label stuff. I've had good luck with, running the Kumos on Vanessa's van in the summertime. They're 100,000-mile tire. I get great life out of them. They wear well. I got Hancooks and Kumos both on the Tundra and on my Civic. My Ridgeline, I always ran, Goodyear Forterra HLs. It depends on the vehicle and what tread pattern I want, but I am not a brand junkie, so to speak. I'm not partial to one particular brand. Like, I only run Michelin's. No, I'm gonna run one. I'm gonna get the best traction in life and best price out of. So My old hankies, Prime Wells. Come on, Gaston. You know Prime Wells are junk. Prime Wells. I have a, what was that? When bought her van, the dealer, of course, when she bought her van, we knew a customer of ours who had it and always went to Florida. So the van had never seen New York winters. And I told him, I said, well, you know, when you trade that in, let me know where you traded it because we'd like to go buy it. So he traded in, he came in, he's like, hey, I traded in the van down at such and such a place. So I told Vanessa, I said, you know, go down and buy that van, you know, call them up, tell me that you want to buy it. Don't, you know, don't prep it. Don't do anything. You just want to go down and buy it. So she calls them up and they're like, oh yeah, well, I'm ready for you. So she said, you know, I'll be here on such a date. I'll bring the money. You know, we're going to get this van. So she shows up, and when they traded in the van, it had a set of half wore out Michelins on it, which, you know, I would prefer. She shows up and they're like acting like they did her this big favor. Like, oh, we put brand new tires on it for you. They put on a set of what they called Ling Longs. That's all the tires said, Ling Long. Ling Long Crosswind HP. That's what they were, because I immediately took them off and threw them in the junk pile because they were junk. They had like 4 ribs on them. I mean, no siping, no nothing. So we called back the dealer to say, hey, you know, do you have the Michelins that you took off? And they refused to give them to us. Of course, you know, we didn't go down and see the van and make the deal, you know, knowing that the tires were on it. So any other unsuspecting customer would have thought they got a great deal. Like, hey, you know, look at that. That dealer put brand new tires on it for me. Well, I looked up the price on the tires. They're like $48 a piece, my cost. He didn't do us any favors. Ling Long crosswinds. Yeah, Ling Long make me break wind. Yeah. Should teachers carry guns? Jimmy, I'm not going to get into that in light of the recent events in Florida. It's not a topic we're going to cover here on my channel. I am 100% pro-gun, but I am not going to get into that. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. Ling Long is about as good as if Dorman made tires. I saved the sticker. I'm going to have to get it for you. Hold on, folks. It's been stuck in my wall for a little while now. Oh, just peeled it off. So this, when you buy a set of Ling Longs, this is the sticker that comes on. I'm not making this up, folks. This is the sticker that comes on Ling Long tires. Focus. Focus. It's not going to focus. There we go, perhaps. That is a sticker you get with a set of Ling Longs. I thought it was kind of a cool sticker. I'm going to stick it back on my wall. All right. That's been on my wall since you met me. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool sticker. But yeah, if you want that cool sticker, you buy yourself some Ling Longs. Tires made by children. Now, apparently that's what that translates to. Does Mrs. O carry? Absolutely. 24/7. That's what happens when the Michelin man has kids. But yeah, I mean, I've seen, of course, you know, I do sell all kinds of brands of tires. You know, I have about 6 tire vendors that we can buy from. And there are people that come in, let's say they have a vehicle that's up on lease, you know, they're at 35,000 whatever miles, the tires are spanked, you know, because the OEM tires are shot. They're liable to turn the vehicle in with a certain amount of tread on it, apparently. I don't know. I've never leased a vehicle. So they'll come to me and they're like, I want the cheapest tire you can get. Now, typically, I will not sell them the cheapest tire because you get the customer comes in like, I'm getting rid of this thing tomorrow. You know, 3 years later, you're still working on the car. And then they're pissed because the tires you sold them only lasted, you know, 5,000 miles because they wanted the cheapest. But you can't have the cheapest and the best, bottom line. However, if they say, my vehicle's up on lease, I have to turn it in 1,000 miles and I need to put new tires on it, I don't want to spend a lot of money, I'm your guy, because I will get you tires that you've never even heard of. I've put on Doral Kodiaks. I've put on, you know, obviously I've installed some Ling Longs. I've put on tires that I haven't even heard of. And so I've asked my vendors, like, you know, where do you guys get these tires? And what they do is they will buy a container of tires from China, and it just has just a hodgepodge of tires in it. They never know what brands. You know, some guys mentioned the Prime Wells, unicorns. Yes, unicorns are a brand tire. You know, you name it. I mean, you'll get some weird, wacky looking stuff. They feel like plastic. They don't balance. So yeah, you need some cheap tires to turn in your car on lease. I'm your guy. Let's see. Jamie, or Jame, I guess it would be. Maybe it is Jamie, J-M-E. Perhaps maybe the E's long. Whalen, like Jennings. Hey, Eric, I'm a DIY. I do my own and family and friends' car. I need a new scanner. What would you recommend? I don't mind shelling out a little cash. Let me just see something here. I'm not good with model numbers. Bear with me there, fella. Fellas. There we go. This is me looking at my computer. So I don't know what you mean by shelling out a little cash, because that can mean a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people. If you were going to spend near $1,000 and you wanted a really good scan tool with bidirectional controls, I would look at the Autel MS906. So that's going to be the MaxiSys Mini, the upgraded version of the old DOS or the DS708. It's going to be a great tool for the buck. Of course, you can spend a little more. You can spend, you know, around $1,100 and get the Launch X431. Quite a few options in that price range. I don't know what your price range is, but I would, you know, if it's, you know, if you don't mind shelling out a few bucks and you want to spend, you know, about $1,000, you know, that's my opinion. As you can see, Keith disagrees with me, but he always will on the Autel debate. He's giving me the thumbs down. I always take mine out and show him, like, hey, look at this. No Autel for the win. So he says Launch all the way. He's a Launch guy. I have them both. He has them both. He likes the Launch more than the Autel, but his Autel is broke. He won't admit it. But that's a big topic. Keith at New Level was supposed to give us a video on DIY scan tools. Keith, haven't seen it yet. Drop the mic. There, it's official. The classified broke because it's junk. Get off it, Keith. It's a great tool. You know it is. You know it deep in your heart. It is. Hey, Eric, got 97 F-150, 4.6, $130 on it. Engine rattles for 2 or 3 seconds when I start it in the morning. Worn time and chain, maybe. Your thoughts? Question mark. Owned since new and always serviced on time. My question to you, classified, would be, is this a new problem or is this just something you've noticed? Because I would say that because I have noticed that a majority of the Fords, particularly older, you know, 2 valves like that, you know, when you start them in the morning and then they go right away, I wouldn't worry myself with that a whole lot. I guess first and foremost, it goes away, which is a good thing. I perhaps would be making sure that my oil filter that I use has an anti-drain back valve in it to make sure you're not combating that problem. So, you know, a good quality filter will have, you know, a silicone anti-drain back valve, you know, the Wick, Snap of Gold, Purilators, Frams don't. So, you know, I'd be looking in that avenue too, just to make sure you're not dealing with, you know, some kind of oil drain back issue just in your filter, because they do mount in there all cattywampus on those. Awful tell. That's it, Keith. I don't know if I can ban a moderator. I ain't gonna ban you. That's just a warning. Do I recommend a Harbor Freight scan tool? I've never used one. You love me because I hate on Fram. Well, Fram filters are garbage. I mean, I've never seen a review on them that was of any saying any different. They're garbage. You know, I mean, they're held together with cardboard and hot glue. No joke. I'm not making that up. That's how they make them. All right, let's see here. Wyatt wants the power of the blue wrench because he said he'll ban Keith. There you go, Wyatt. You got a blue wrench now. You can take him out. Oh, Keith. Man, look at him. He is all about running down my all-tail. See, Sam from Tool Hut, he's on my side. He says the all-tail out doesn't launch. There you go, Keith. You got to watch it. Wyatt's the moderator. And I think he might have used to been in a gang. So watch out. Before you slam it, fram it. I don't know if that's their slogan, actually. What time is it? Oh, man, it's 7 o'clock already. Launch is out to lunch. See, Keith, they're coming down on you. Altel or Varus? Now, I believe Keith will agree with me on this. Altel. I'll wait for him, unless he's left and he's mad. Oh, no, he's still here. Altel or Varus, Keith? What's it going to be? Scan tool only, not talking about the scope. What would you say? I don't know where he is. He must be out fixing the car now. Let's see where we're at here. Let's see. Isa Conkus. I can't pronounce names. A guy with the initials IC writes, can a bad fuel pump cause incorrect fuel gauge readings? I can only pump 18 or 19 gallons of fuel into my 26-gallon tank. The fuel pump, no. Your fuel level sensor, yes. If your fuel level sending unit is not reading correctly or your gauge is not reading correctly, then perhaps when you're on empty, you're not really on empty. I guess what I would be curious of is, you know, have you ran it like empty, like I ran out of gas? I know for a fact my tank is 26 gallons, but I can only put 19 in it, because then that's a totally different problem. Or are you just going to the gas station when it's on empty or when it says empty and you can only get 18 or 19 gallons? Because if that's the case, then, you know, you're looking something, you know, faulty gauge, faulty sending unit, something along those lines. Yeah, Auto Ingenuity. I don't know much about it. I have seen guys use it on YouTube. It seems super glitchy, highly unreliable from what I've seen. Of course, I don't know if their stuff is up to date, how old it is, but I've never seen it and says, you know, I've got to own that. I've seen it and says, I'm glad I don't own that. Best code reader scan tool for around $100. I would definitely be looking into the OTCs or Actrons. From what I've had, I've got several. I've got 3 of the launch handhelds, like the 4001, the 5001, and one other really cheap one. I don't particularly care for them. They do work. They do what they say. The Altel, though, or the Altel, the Actron, I do like a lot more. I like their graphing capabilities, some of their OEM data, and they have a various range of, or you know, wide array of price ranges that you can pick one up in. Mike Gleason wrote, yeah, and Keith wrote the AL319 by Altel, which I haven't used yet. But if Keith gives it his word, then we'll take him at his word. Unless he's saying Altel sucks, then we won't listen to him. Yeah, Wyatt says they're only $37, so that's wicked cheap. I should probably get one to play with it. Let's see. Oh, Wyatt One Able says, oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a scan tool that Wyatt had on his channel. So if you want to see that Altel tool that they're talking about, Wyatt One Able, that's floating up through the comments here, I believe if you're a moderator, Wyatt, you can actually post a link to that video here. So if you can't, let me know. Otherwise, guys, go on Wyatt One-Able's channel and where he did a review on that tool if you want to see it, the AL319. the Italian version of Altel. Drive shaft Drew is up in here. Let's see. How come you're not eating your popcorn, Chiba? You want to come up here and say hi? Come on. Come on. Come here. Chiba, come here. Come on. Oh, man, right in my junk. Ooh. So Chiba wants to say hi again. Don't lick me. You're a butt licker. What databases do I use? I use Mitchell ProDemand and Identifix for my factory service info. So there's a link to Wyatt's video. So it did work. If you got a blue wrench, you can post links. Let's see. Yep, that worked good. yeah, Sheba's not a fan of the Boom Chicka. She says Boom Chicka sucks. What's the best ratchet? In my opinion, I'm a snap-on ratchet guy. Now, I'm not an advocate of snap-on tools, and I'm not going to tell you that you ain't nothing unless you got snap-on, but all my ratchets, on the exception of just a couple, which I probably have, 20-some, are all snap-on. I like snap-on ratchets. So that's my opinion on that. I'm out of things to talk about because I went through my list, so I'm waiting on you guys. Yeah, I don't know. I've had great luck, great success with snap-on ratchets. I do have one Mac ratchet, their newest design, fine tooth, that has more than impressed me. Before that, I hated Mac ratchets. You could break one just looking at it. Haley's comment. Oh, I get it. Haley's comment. Free wiring diagram website you recommend. Had a multifunction switch connector on an 01 Dodge that fell apart inside. It was so brittle. The only one that I know of Haley's comment is BBB Industries, which I think I got a link right here. I'll post that. Here you go. Bada bing, bada boom. There is your website to BBB Industries /technical. Hopefully that link works. Ah, crap. I think I clicked it. Yeah, so check that link out, guys. If not, just go to BBB Industries. They don't have everything, but what they do have is free. They do list some technical service bulletins and other data there that may be of use to you folks. You can also get subscriptions to All Data DIY. You can get subscriptions to Mitchell DIY. Very affordable. Particularly if you're going in to do a big job. Yeah, I'd spend the $20 or $30, whatever it costs to have all that information. You can't beat that, in my opinion. What else was I going to say? Oh, a lot of folks were talking about the fella that I got over there with the Hyundai that did his own timing belt and crashed his engine. And some people were getting kind of rude in the comments, to the point I had to delete some comments. I didn't ban anybody because I'm not a jerkwad. But I did delete some of the comments because perhaps the guy who did the vehicle is watching and reading them. So think about it. You can't call him an asshat and everything else because he screwed up a timing mark. And I'll tell you this, I'll say that to say this. I've made the same mistake. What? You heard it right. I've made that same mistake. Back in the year 1998, I made that mistake on a Subaru that I was helping a friend with. Now, this was when I was just a young rookie. Wanted to do his timing belt on his mom's car. I was bring it to me, pal. So we tore it apart. Dual red cam, put the timing belt on it, fired it up, boom, started right up, man. It was like, ball pump. Did good. Driving it around, couple minutes later, well, this thing ain't running so good. Guess what? It don't idle now. Start, stall, start, stall. Let it get cold, boom, fire it up, run great. As soon as it warms up, run like crap. So back on that awful day in 1998, I started to panic. What did we do wrong? It's my buddy's mom's car. I'm doing it for like a 6-pack of beer probably. Tore it all back apart, looked at everything. All the marks are lined up perfectly, except on your Subarus, they have 2 marks on the crankshaft, one on the outside, one on the inside. I used the one on the outside. You're supposed to use the one on the inside. I didn't know. I just wanted to help my buddy out, save his mom, be a hero. Fortunately for me, the difference between those 2 marks is only 3 teeth. Nothing bad happened. Unfortunately for this guy, the difference is about 100 degrees of crankshaft advancement. For him, it didn't end so well. So before you get down on him, know that yours truly has made that same mistake. It was 20 years ago, but I did make that mistake. Why? Because I got in a hurry. I didn't look at service info. I'd seen the dot, line it up, ship it. Do I have any hair? I got lots of hair. It's just all gray. See, I got to hide the light. I got a lot of gray hair, nice and thick. And if I grow it, I can grow an afro. So there's that. Yeah, he made a big mistake. I took the head off for him, took both heads off. Every single intake valve had been touched. He took the heads, he took them to his machine shop. I'm quite nervous about it. I did not do a video on the teardown. You do have a part 2 that's coming out. I did not do a video on teardown because we've already done, other Honda head gasket videos. This is the same. But what concerned me is the bottom of these heads have been machined, I think, a couple times. I wanted the machine shop to check the overall thickness of the head. Plus, I could see that when the guy went to put the head on it, he had it on top of the dowel pins and must just skated that head all over them dowel pins. So I don't know if the machine shop is cleaning that up. That makes me nervous. They had a lot of scratches on them. You could see the frustration on this vehicle, folks. Just like I said in today's video came out, I could feel the car's aura. I had a little sit down with the car and I was like, hey car, tell me how you feel. It wasn't good. So, but just be kind. Don't be a keyboard warrior. Don't beat the guy down because you shouldn't touch his effing car, jerkwad. You know what? At least he tried. That's how problems get solved. You can either stand there and look at it or you can try. You got to try something. So he gave it a shot. It screwed up. He stopped, brought it here. And that's the bottom line. I'm going to fix his car. Lesson learned. I told him what he did, showed him what he did. He can't change it. Can't change the fact it's a mistake. It's a costly mistake, but it's a mistake. It's repairable. Life will go on. So, yep. Just trying to help him out. Yeah, everyone makes mistakes. The only one who doesn't make mistakes is the guy who's never done anything. If you do something at some point in your life, you're going to mess up. And you're probably going to mess up bad at some point. I know I have. And that's the truth. So boom, chicka pop. Advertising for boom, chicka pop. The popcorn that I don't really know if I like. Only the true greats can admit their mistakes. You got to be able to make your mistakes. If you make a mistake, just own it, because you just got to own it. It is what it is. You make a mistake, you got to make it right. Fix the problem, move on. If you sit and dwell on it, you're going to go bananas. What air filters do I use? Personally, well, like in my own stuff, I use OEM filters. My favorite aftermarket filter is the Purelator Pure 1 filter, which are getting harder to get because all Advance Auto wants in stock is the crapola filters. Like, oh, here, we got one for a nickel. Well, I don't want the nickel filter. I want the Purelator Pure 1. They come in a bag and they have some sort of, I don't know if they, like silicone spray. I don't know what they put on them, but those filters will get dirty 3 times faster than just a normal paper element. It's the same type of element. They use the same element material in those pure ones as they do like the Honda OEM filters, that green or blue colored paper filtration element. Same ones they use in the Honda, they get dirty like wicked quick. And it just makes me think that they have a higher micron, better filtration than just your normal paper filter, because why doesn't the regular folded pleated paper filter get as dirty as that one? That's just my thoughts. Michael Gleason says, how does All Data compare to Mitchell? I can never find anything in All Data DIY I have for my Audi. The best person to ask that question to, Michael, is actually Keith. I don't use All Data. I've used it when I'm with him. Of course, it's brand new software for me at the time, and I struggle with it because I'm not used to it. Now, Keith, on the other hand, he'll struggle with Mitchell because he's not used to it. He likes All Data. I like Mitchell. As far as finding stuff, I can find stuff very quickly in Mitchell because I've used it. I've used Mitchell since back in the day, back in the 90s when you used to get it on CDs and then it switched to DVDs and, then it went on a full web version. I can find stuff very quickly because I'm used to their headings. So they have recently changed that, and this may be why you have a hard time. I'll get that for a minute. This may be why you're having a hard time finding information on your Audi, because it was, I would say, probably in the last, 5 or 6 years or however long it's been, companies like Mitchell used to get all their OEM information and they used to put it in their own, category, subcategory, and it was always the same. If I worked on an Audi and I wanted, engine torque specs, it was, bang, 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 bang. It was always in the same subheadings. Now, from my understanding, they receive their information from the OEM and they have to display it the way that the OEM has it categorized. So that is starting to get a little bit frustrating. So it may not be, All Data's fault. It may be just how they have it formatted in their software. Because like if I work on something Euro, it's like, oh crap, it's this subheading under this one, under this, I'm clicking around like a madman. So recently, if I have to do something like that, I utilize the keyword search function, which is also, has to be specific, what we call a brake caliper. They might call it, something else. So it's kind of hit and miss. If it gets down to it where I've spent 10 minutes looking, I call them and say, here's what I'm looking for. They put their CSI team on it. And, a half hour later, you get your information, hopefully. So like I say, that may not be All Data's fault. It may be how they have to display the info from the OE. So something to think about. When we open an SMA branch down in Texas, likely never, Randy. I'll just be honest with you. Don't want to get up your hopes and dreams and shoot them down. I have no intention of moving to Texas. It's way too hot there for me. What do we got here? So you don't see my comments, which is better for the Tundra. 255 70/18 or 275 65. Well, Spanky, I would say, which tire is better? I'm gonna tell you the same thing I always tell my customers: put the tires on it that came on it. Look on the door jamb, see what tires are OEM on it, and stick with those. Particularly we get into vehicles with traction controls, ABS. I never advise a customer to change their tire size, for plus sizing or downsizing. I run what comes on it. I don't even know what size tires on my Tundra. 275, 65, 18s maybe, something like that. Of course, if you're gonna and you found a better deal on, let's say, a 70 series tire, there's plenty of plus sizing charts that you can look at online and make sure you have the same overall circumference. That would be my advice. I could talk to you about it more at some point, but I always advise my customers, came with 225 60s, put them back on it. That way, I'm not liable for any type of malfunction. Transmission shifts funny now. ABS doesn't work quite right. All the calculated values in the ECM are all whacked out now because it doesn't know how many miles per revolution or all that business. So What spark plug gap tool do I recommend? What spark plug? Oh yeah, let me comprehend that. What spark plug gap tool do I recommend? I use the wire style gappers. I don't use the round wheel where you wedge it in there and yank it up. I use the wires, essentially like a wire feeler gauge. Those are the best in my opinion. The CRC valve cleaner work on GM DI engines? I don't know if it's, I assume you're talking about the spray down the intake type intake cleaner. I don't know. I have no definitive proof that it does or does not work. Perhaps somebody has done some videos on YouTube where they've actually displayed it, because I think they have a new cleaner now. I don't know if it's BG or if it is CRC, where you get the engine warm, pull the intake off, douche it down, and it sits there boiling away on you. I'm not sure. So you got some other conversations. Man, 1,300 folks up in this joint right now. Have I ever used any Melee parts? Melee, I can never pronounce that name, but yes, I have. I've used their valves, guides. I've used some of their gaskets, if I'm thinking right. Toby Sawyer for the knowledge and entertainment. Well, thanks, Toby. I like to think of myself as a male entertainer. Think about it. You just paid a male entertainer. Know what I mean? I'm just kidding, but I am a male and I do entertain. I do not do body work. You do not want to see my body work because it involves like a grinder and a paint roller. I thought about doing some on my old Honda based off what I've seen on Ratchet and Wrench's videos, where he does body work with actually products that come in a can, clear coat, base coat, primer, the whole deal. And they look fantastic when he's done. He needs a classic reach around. No, we don't give out the classic reach around. SD's going to talk to his Castle guy or two about your two not showing up anymore. That's okay, SD. You don't have to coax them into stopping at my shop anymore. I'll tell you the problem as far as what I think has happened with my Castle guy. So I used to have a Castle girl. Now we have a Castle guy. And it was the same thing with both of them, which often it is with vendors of mine. I'm a small shop. I'm one horse town, small dude. When they stop, let's say they stop every other week, every week they want me to buy product. And I don't get this mentality. So they would be happy if they came in every couple weeks and I bought a couple cans. Like, hey, I need 2 cans of this, I need a can of that, and 1 roll of paper towels. They would be here every other week, every week, and be happy and think that they're being profitable. When indeed, what I tell them is, I'm an economical buyer. I make smart purchases. I know I like, this product or whatever product they have. I'll say, I'll buy 4 cases of that. I'll buy, 4 cases of this. I'll buy, 3 boxes of, whatever. Come and see me in another month or 2. That's how I do it. And they don't, for whatever reason, they don't like that. Even though they've made the same sale that they would consecutively, stopping week after week, wasting gas, wasting time, wasting paper, wasting resources. I would prefer the shop that I went to and he says, I want, there's this many cases. You don't need to stop and see me for a couple months. I'd be like, okay, dude, see you in a couple months. If you need anything in the meantime, holla. That's what I would say. But for whatever reason, every time I do that to a vendor, you never see him again. It just happened with my NITEC guy because it's the same thing. NITEC comes in, I buy, he'll want to sell me, one of the magic hand soap, the hand soap I use. I don't want 1. Sell me 6. Sell me the case. It's not going bad. It has no shelf life. Sell me 6. sell me, 12 rolls of the hand towels I use. And then I buy, he wants to sell me a bag of 50, 413 valve stems. I don't want a bag of 50. Sell me a bag of 10,000. I buy them. I keep them. I use them. No, next week I don't need any more. The week after that, nope, still don't need them. A month later, he stops in. No, I'm sorry, I don't need any products. Well, then I'm not coming here anymore. Can't you think? Think, dude. Use your head. It's more than just a hat rack. So don't do the holler thing. I'm too hillbilly for that. Holla! I can do holler and be hillbilly. But I'm just saying, I don't understand vendors that have that mentality. And it's always the same. I don't care who they are. I don't get it. But that's why I don't have a Castle guy. That's why I don't have a NITEC guy. Did I buy a product? Absolutely. I bought it, paid for it on the spot. I don't lease it. I don't rent it. Same thing with my parts washer. They want me to lease my parts washer. I don't want to lease my parts washer. I want to own my parts washer. Boom, I bought it. Here it is. Bam, got it. Own it. Never saw them again. If I lease it, they are here every other month. Oh, time for a service, time for a service, time for a lease agreement, time for this. No, I own it. I want it serviced, I'll call you. It's frustrating. But for whatever reason, that's how they do things. The holler thing just ain't working. Maybe it's because I ain't no holler back girl. Could be. So that's my thing. So now instead of having my NITEC supply, which I saw them at the show in Syracuse, and of course the guy there, he's like, "Hey, how's your NITEC stuff doing?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you a little story." Of course, I've been a NITEC customer since 1999. And all of a sudden, the new guy, I ain't good enough for him because he doesn't like my system. Whatever, dude. Myers has been knocking on my door ever since I've been a NITEC customer. And I will not throw one vendor under the bus to switch to another. I'm a loyal NITEC customer. Gave the guy a fighting chance. I'm running low on product. I call him like, "Hey, I haven't seen you since September." This is in December. I haven't seen you since September. Ran into a wicked busy tire season this fall. Could use some product. Okay, I'll be there on Thursday. Who's this again? Where are you located? What shop do you work for? What, dude, I've been buying stuff from you for freaking 15 years, And then Thursday came and went. The next Thursday came and went. The Myers guys stopped in. "Nice to meet you, Scott. You got yourself a new customer." Been that way ever since. Haven't seen NITEC guys since then. So you know what? My money ain't green enough. We're moving on. Myers sure seems to like it. And the NITEC guy missed a huge sale. So refilled all my wheel weights, bought a couple new squeegees, paper products, all the stuff that they used to take care of. And that guy, he don't care. I told him straight up, "Look, I'm buying all my stuff in cases. I might not need anything for a couple months." He's like, "Okay, whatever." Boom. I buy the Altel tool off him. He still stops in regardless, just to show me what's on sale. See if I need anything. He's here 2 minutes. Boom. He's on the next place. So I'm not going to chase down a salesman. Bottom line, unless I really, really like their product, then we'll do it. But my Myers guy is pretty cool. Of course, he used to work for NITEC, so he knows all their product too, which is extremely helpful. It's just like Snap-on and Mac. I can see, I like my Snap-on guy. I like my Mac guy. I know they have to make a living. And I don't buy stuff from them every week. I'm lucky to buy stuff from them once a month. But they can count on it when I do. I don't have a truck account. I don't have a charge account. If I want the tool, I ask them to order it. I pay for it. I buy it. They get paid. Everybody moves on. But it doesn't happen every week. And I think that some of them guys, I don't know if this stands true for my tool guys because they do stop in every week. They want that weekly payment, stop in, chase my $10, $20 payment, $20 payment, $20 payment. I won't do that. I'll save my money until I have the money to purchase the tool that I want. Then I buy it from them and pay for it. So whether they like it or not, that's how I roll. That's how I roll my oats. Joe Thiessen, and he writes, "Hey, Mr. O, love the content. What are your thoughts on quick jack lift systems? Do you think it would be a good investment for the DIYer?" I've never used one. I've seen them. Of course, I do have a mid-rise lift that I use, and I like it. It does have some danger aspects to it. If you're waddling around underneath the car, it could potentially be a killer. It might be a slow killer. As far as the quick jacks, I would investigate into them. I can't offer any information simply because I've never used them. But I would look into them to see, how their safety latch system on it works, what they recommend. Are they safe for, being underneath the car? Are they only meant for, wheel work, strut work? Of course, anything like that where you can get all four wheels off the ground is always helpful, regardless, in my opinion. I do like my low-rise lift, my Wheeltronics. Of course, it's got Snap-on written on it, but it's made by Wheeltronics. I do love that lift. That's the only lift I had when I started my business. So that is the lift that got me going. That and a 30-gallon Craftsman air compressor. Those are my two tools, plus my toolbox and my noodle. And I built my business from there. So that was my first lift. Got some sentimental value with it. How big is my garage? It's big enough to fit about 4 cars in. This bay is 25 by 50. That one over there is 25 by 30, I think, something like that. And then, of course, the back room and the office. And it's not very big. It's quite small. Let's see. The best hand cleaner. The hand cleaner I use is the stuff called Magic. Now, Nytech sells it. And that is one thing I am going to miss from Nytech is that hand cleaner. But I did find another source. I can still order online. It's about $26 for a container, and that is shipped. Whereas I was buying it from Nytech for, I think, like $22. But it lasts a long, long time. It's a walnut based. And I tell you what, I don't care how grubby your hands are. One pump. They add the magic, you add the water. That's their slogan. The stuff is phenomenal. Very, very similar to the Snap-on hand cleaner. It actually even smells the same. Smells the same and looks the same. It probably is the same. Of course, the Snap-on stuff is like, 80 times the cost. But I really like the Magic hand cleaner because it doesn't have a stink to it. You don't go around smelling like you just peeled a freaking orange, using the Gojo slimy crap. So I do like Magic. I like basically because I like their slogan. Next best thing, I like a Lava Bar and Dawn dish soap. That's a fantastic hand cleaner. So, ooh, what's the best toilet paper? You got to go with a 2-ply. Single ply, you take a chance of busting a finger through. So 2-ply, I don't know if you're a wrapper or a folder. I'm a wrapper. You asked. How many mechanics work at SMA? Let me go get them all, Gregory. Hold on. Hey, fellas, they want to meet you. We're all here, Gregory. Just me, basically. That's what I'm getting at. Hey, TMI, man, he asked. 3 or 4. Oh. Angel Soft apparently feels like Angel's tongue on the starfish. I laughed way too hard at that. That's hilarious. Do I want my kids to join the business? And that's a question I get a lot when people come in and they're questioning my kids, as they often do, with the silly questions like, oh, do you have a little girlfriend at school? Do you have a little boyfriend? I'm like, lady, my daughter's 7 years old. She don't have a boyfriend. My kid's 10. He ain't got a girlfriend. All right, back off. It ain't all about getting boyfriends and girlfriends and this and that. How about he get some freaking passing grades first? I'll be happy with that. And then they always throw out the question like, are you going to be a mechanic like your dad? Which a lot of people ask. That's a good question to ask a child. Don't pressure him into getting on the dating scene in the 5th grade. Shimon, So my answer to that question is no, I'm not going to make my children become mechanics. If they have an interest in it, I'll be more than willing to help them with it. If they want to pursue some other career that they feel led to do, then I'll let them pursue that. If they grow up and they're like, hey, Dad, we're all going to be doctors and lawyers, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to fix your car and get you back and forth to school. Because, one hand washes the other type thing. If they want to be DC officer or a cop or anything but a deadbeat, have at it. I'll let them do whatever they want. Follow your dreams, man. My parents did not make me become a mechanic. I had a lot of interest in it. As some children will do. They'll pursue what their parents do. Of course, my parents were mechanics. I grew up in the shop. It's Avoca. There ain't much going on around here, so I hung out in the shop a lot and just liked it. It's in my blood. And I find that some of the, again, not toot my own horn, but a lot of the mechanics that are just like good all around fixer mechanic guys, it's in their blood. This is just what they do. And that's how I feel about it. This is what I do. I love what I do. It's probably going to kill me. Certainly we'll probably develop some sort of cancer or something from it, from all the chemicals and garbage I'm around. But, I love what I do. I don't want to do anything else. I love this industry. And I think that's the other part that makes a mechanic a good mechanic, besides being flowing through your veins, is the fact that you have to love doing this. If you don't, this has to be the most horrible job you could ever have. That's just my opinion. Angel's tongue on the starfish. Yeah, it took me a minute to figure out what the starfish was, but then I got the joke, and it's hilarious. Yes, if my kids could choose a different career other than a mechanic, yeah, I certainly will encourage them to do so. Like I say, you can be anything but a deadbeat. That's just my opinion. You ain't gonna sit around on your ass in my house with no job, playing Minecraft. No. If it is, guess what? You're going to get something called rent. And you're going to get a job. I don't care what it is. You need to get a job. You need to teach your kids how to work and have good work ethics and be responsible. And I even put that on Facebook today. The kids are here because they're home from school. They're off for school this week for whatever reason. Well, my toolbox needs to be cleaned. The floors need swept. There's stuff that the kids can do. So Trinity was out here. She had this right here. This is a rag she's using this morning. Some natural power citrus-based cleaner. Okay. She had rubber gloves on. Guess what? You're cleaning my toolbox. You're cleaning off the cabinet. She cleaned off the tire balancer. She's 7 years old. You got jobs you can do. The boys are bigger. They carry out scrap metal. You take the rotors, you put them in the rotor pile. You separate the struts, you put them in with a tin. They know how to do stuff. You're going to piss and moan? Well, guess what? You live in my house. I provide you with clothing, shelter, protection, food, education. You're gonna help. That's the way it is. You're not getting a participation trophy for coming out and trying to take care of scrap metal or trying to clean the toolbox. If you don't do a good job, guess what? You're gonna redo it. You're gonna do it and do it right. Bottom line. That's how I do it. Like Trinity, she cleaned my box. Well, on this side of the box, there's a bunch of hooks and stuff hanging, and she wiped around them. So I don't get mean or anything. I was like, Trinity, I said, you missed half that toolbox. Well, there's stuff in the way. Well, guess what? Move it. Okay. They go back. You got to teach them how to do this stuff. Otherwise, if they do a half-ass job like that, they're going to continue to do that throughout the rest of their life. Again, that's my opinion. I'm no child psychologist, but everybody participates in this family. Work together, work together. I think that's some song they sing. So that's it. That's my thought. I'm probably pissed a lot of people off, but oh well. Yep. American mechanics. Yeah, you can't outsource that job, Samuel Jackson. So I don't know what you guys think of it. I'm not going to coddle them and encourage them if they're doing something wrong. Like, oh, come here, you tried. No, you can try harder. Let's do a better job. If you know it's within their skill set and their ability, if you know that child has the ability, you can do a better job on that. I'm not going to let you slack and get away with that. So, but child labor, they're my children. Of course, I don't put them in harm's way and make them do anything dangerous, Yeah, Wyatt's met my kids. They're good. They're good kids. You just got to listen. I remember what happened when I was a kid. You didn't listen. You just listen. You know, if your mom or dad told you to do something, you just did it. Bottom line, you didn't disrespect your parents. You didn't swear at your mom or flip them off or anything like that. At least not where they were seeing you. You know, yeah, you might get mad at your parents, but you weren't disrespectful like kids are nowadays, man. I was in, you know, you go in a grocery store, see there's kids like, you know, hitting their parents. I'm like, man, could you imagine? I couldn't even imagine growing up, draw fists in my old man. Game over, right there on the spot. It didn't matter if you're in a grocery store. You didn't hit your parents. Yep, that's just the way it was. My dad always told me, because, you know, when I got older, of course, you know, I challenged him a little bit. You know, we'd have some fist fights. You know, always told me, you cock it, you better swing it. So learn that lesson the hard way. He was serious. Yeah, I don't coddle. Me and Vanessa, we're like good cop, bad cop. That's what I always tell her. I'm like, don't do coddle him. I'm not going to coddle him for doing that. Yep, start them young, teach them the value of the dollar. Now, I don't want them to be dollar worshipers, like, you know, I gotta have money, more. But my parents taught me good values growing up as far as the responsibility of, you know, we're just talking about money. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So we, you know, talking about responsibility and money. So, you know, growing up, like I said, my parents always gave me everything I needed. You know, we always had, you know, clean clothes and a place to live and food. And, you know, obviously, you know, my parents had a shop. But like I say, if I wanted a pair of like Nikes, or I wanted, you know, Levi jeans or something. Of course, my parents had 4 kids too. And, you know, they weren't poor. But if I wanted something special like that, or I wanted, you know, a certain gaming system or a mini bike, well, guess what? You got to get a job. So, you know, I've had a job since I was 14 years old. I'm 38 years old, and I've had a job since I was 14, because the day that I could get my working papers from school and go get a job, I did, because I wanted some of that extra stuff. And then I learned the lesson, like, you know, you couldn't buy the stuff till you had money for it. So you had to work and save and, you know, earn your money. And then, you know, of course, that got tougher as I got older, because, you know, now I wanted a car. So, you know, I have a car, but now I need money for insurance and gas and, you know, plus all your fun stuff. You know, if you wanted, you know, a new gun or, you know, whatever it was you're going for, you know, you just had to learn. And that's just kind of something you learn, I guess. Enough about that. Corey writes, do you think electric car revolution will significantly change my business in the coming years? I don't know, Jay, is the answer to that question. I don't have a single customer who owns, I should say that I only have like 2 customers that own hybrids, let alone, you know, full on electric vehicles. I don't foresee in the upcoming years, like in the next, you know, 2 years or even 5 years, where I'm even going to be seeing these vehicles come in. I have not invested any of my training time into hybrids, let alone full on electrical vehicles, simply because I don't believe that I'm going to see them in my shop anytime in the near future. Now, are they going to be infiltrating cities and, you know, populated urban areas? I'm sure, you know, they already are. They're already making, you know, a certain amount of them, manufacturers making, you know, electric vehicles and, you know, hybrids. And some people say like, oh, it's, you know, you should be getting training. So if I work on, you know, 5,000 cars a year, and out of those, you know, 5,000 cars I worked on, 2 of those were hybrids, I am not going to invest my knowledge, time, and tooling into knowing those systems at this point, simply because 2 out of 5,000, I just say, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. You know, you're going to have to go, you know, to whoever does. I don't know a single shop in the area, because they're not popular in our area. So, you know, you're gonna have to go, you know, to the dealer. I'll turn down 2 out of 5,000 and not feel bad about it at all. Now, when those ratios start increasing, let's say, oh, geez, you know, I had, you know, 100 hybrids come in, or 100, you know, electric vehicles. Now is the time for me to start investing in training. And I'm not going to play dumb either. I'm not going to snowball my customer and say, oh yeah, bring in the Prius, I'm a hybrid expert, and just go at it willy-nilly. You got to know where to draw a line. That's not my area of expertise. I don't know anything about them. So I just stop right there. It just is what it is. I'll do tires, basic engine service, stuff like that. Stuff I look up in, service manual, but that's where I draw a line on them. And they are not popular in my area. If I lived geographically somewhere different and they were popular, absolutely. I'd learn, get the training, tooling, whatever I needed, if that was, part of my business. So. Oh man, I think we're, what somebody asked where I live? Avoca, New York. This is Avoca, New York, or Avoca if you're from out of town. The Tesla. Yes, no one in our area can afford to buy a Tesla, period. And if they can, they don't. They'll buy a Chevy Suburban. Have I ever pulled any truck cabs? I have. I've done lots of, well, no, I wouldn't say lots, but I've done my share of cab removal. Excuse me, particularly when I worked for my dad. Clicking my pen. That's annoying. Wicked annoying. So I guess we probably ought to hug and say goodbye. We're getting close to the magical time. I think we started at 5:30. Typically run these about 2 hours. Of course, we got into some sidetracked topics of child rearing. I believe they call it child rearing. At least that's what some of the books say that Mrs. O got me that I have to read. So we parent together. Whole nother topic. Don't bring it up to Mrs. O, please. How far from bingo? A couple hours. Yes, the end is near, or as Morrison sang, this is the end, the only end, my friend. I know W.W. Wrench is probably a Doors fan. This is the end. We should get that song playing right now as I sign off, because I'm not really a singer, let alone singing Morrison, No disrespect to the Doors. So we'll see what the folks are saying. Yeah, the Doors. What does the O in Mr. and Mrs. O stand for? That stands first initial of my last name. And what is my favorite song? I don't really have one. I have lots of songs. We'll give it just a couple more minutes because I can't seem to go. Oh, light my fire. Now you guys are going to get me singing some Doors songs. Take me back to my days, man. I didn't grow up in those days, but I sure did like listening to the Doors. Or yeah, or we could play some Happy Trails. Start the truck. Yeah, I don't need to start. I got the Civic. It's still pretty decent out. Let's see. Love it 2 times, baby. All right, I can't. I won't sing. I ain't gonna sing. Bottom line. All right, guys. I'm out of here like a pregnant chick's belly button. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for all the support you give us on Patreon, PayPal, in the comments, with the love, directing your feels and good vibes towards us, if those are such a thing. It's always fun. What's Up Wednesdays, just coming on, seeing you guys, striking up these conversations of the hundreds of different Doors songs that are coming up now. So I'm going to have to go on a Doors super marathon on my ride home. That's what we're going to do. I had to get Sheba loaded up. I think it's safe to say she's ready. Sheba. She won't listen to me. Sheba. Sheba, look at me. Say goodbye. Over here. Hey, I'm up here. Hello. My eyes are up here. So that's Sheba saying goodbye. And I'm saying goodbye. And just thanks again. we'll see you guys on some upcoming videos. Of course, got part 2 of the Honda coming out. You guys will check that out where we verify our assumptions. And I don't know what's after that. I need to make some videos because I don't have any. So we'll do that. We'll get some stuff rolled out. In the meantime, be on the lookout, subscribe, do everything that you do, and stay cool. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.